Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. Today is Monday, May 1st, May Day, 2023. My name is Jeremy. This is my first cup. Let's see who is here. So far, I see Frank, Tommy, Stacy, and Jenny. Good morning to you all. Saw two of you. Good morning, Dennis. Saw two of you over the weekend quite a bit, which was awesome. Yes, I am back from All In Weekend 2023. Plans are already underway for 2024. In fact, plans were underway before the weekend, and it was a wonderful weekend. I don't know if I can compare it to last year's event. They both stand there on their own for different reasons. Both were wonderful, but I am exhausted. I went to bed at 7:30 and I could probably still, and I got up at 5, could probably still sleep another, I'm going to guess 4 hours. Did not get a ton of sleep and was just going. You'll hear it in my voice. There was a lot of talking. There was a lot of moving. It was all in. So Tommy says, I'm feeling my age today. Yeah, we had a great time. I know Frank wants me to talk about it later on in the day, later on in the episode, so I will do a bit of that, so I'll save it for then. Other than that, pardon me. Jenny says, I had plenty of energy for the drive home. I was done once I sat down on the couch. Yeah. Oh, just a heads up, it's raining. Power has already blipped a couple times. We will see, knock on wood, if it remains. But if it doesn't, that's where I went. The laundry and the dryer is off mid-cycle. Fortunately, it's the dryer. Can we call that a dryer cycle? When really it just turns on, gets hot, and turns off? I don't know that that's really a cycle. Had a lot of fascinating things happen this weekend, just observing people, developing my own skills. Andrew did a phenomenal job, absolutely crushed it. And I have to say, in terms of things like my anxiety, was non-existent this weekend. I was in a great place. I was really happy. I was doing some of the stuff I'm supposed to be doing. The reason I'm here. That was great. Brian, who was also in attendance, once the quote high wore off, I experienced an overwhelming exhaustion I'm not quite used to. Such an awesome weekend. Yep. So he says the wind has been crazy. Yeah. Few of us, man, I can just hear my voice doing weird things. Few of us have the chance to do something so focused for as much time as we do with this event. You know, it's one of those things that Andrew brought it up again yesterday as we were closing out. You can't explain it ahead of time. We can't tell you what's going to happen, because if you look at it on paper, it's not going to make sense. You're not going to get it. And that's a part of why we've just said, you know what, we're not even going to try to explain what this is. You have to come and experience it. And if you come and experience it, you get it, and you try to come back the next year. The sheer number of people who tried to come back and did come back, which is awesome. And I expect the same thing for next year. Brian, that's funny. Frank says, Jeremy is a sleepyhead today. Yes, he is. He's also a little more clean shaven than he normally is. I may keep it at this length for a while. We'll see. Coffee is good. We drank a lot of coffee this weekend, had a lot of great food. Got to get outside on Friday. Weather was wonderful. Played a game of horse with a slightly misshapen and underinflated basketball, but still had a great time with some people. You know, one of the things that I think is important for all of us in our lives is to be around the right people, to be around people that nurture us, sustain us. And that's a lot of what Whistlekick has done. We find the right people and we invite them to stick around. Whether they come in through the podcast or they come in through free training day or all in weekend. And by the way, starting probably this week, maybe next week, once all the all in weekend stuff is done, you know, I got to pay some bills and there's some other detail work that has to happen. Prep for next year, send out information to attendees, the class photo. We'll start working on Free Training Day Northeast and Marshall Summit. It doesn't stop. This work doesn't stop. We're just going to keep going. So hopefully you can make it to things. Jenny says, I'm going to Happy Cry. I didn't cry on the way home, but I definitely felt full. I think it's the best way to put it. No, computer, I don't want to link my phone to you. You can barely handle streaming this broadcast. So today, I've got a stack of calls that starts at 11 and I think goes until 2:30. It's 3.5 hours in a block of calls. So I'm going to have to stop by the grocery store, grab some food, grab some deli meat for lunch. One of those calls I can eat during. So I will eat lunch during that call. Oh, there we go. And the rest of the time, it's just call. Most of it's with clients, not all of it. And we'll see where that takes me. Of acupuncture later. We'll probably go to the gym and work on whatever is not sore, which is very little. If you follow me on Facebook, you might have seen I posted. I did between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And remember, we started about noon on Friday. I got there just a little bit before. I was supposed to get there earlier. Some things happened. And I left Sunday at 2:30 after finishing cleanup. Over those 3 days, I had 55,000 steps. Saturday alone was 25,000 steps for me. I don't think I've ever seen that much on any kind of step counter that I've worn. It was 12 hours or so of training and me walking around and walking up and down the bunkhouse to the training space and around and up and just constant, just evaluating, making sure everybody was good to go. So my calves are huge. My feet are not so sore today. Yesterday were quite sore. My back is sore just from being upright and walking on a concrete floor. I'm still a little dehydrated, working on that. But it was worth it. It was all worth it. Oh, you guys are great. I'm just watching the crosstalk, the chatter. In the chat, the chatter in the chat. I think one of the other things that's worth mentioning is that I sent a message. Most of you know that I went through a phase last year. It was a year ago, a little more than a year ago. I went through a phase trying to find a space to open a martial arts school. And I realized, I think it was on Friday, maybe Thursday, it was time to try again. And there is somebody I know that's a little more connected into this area and the sorts of buildings that might be available. And I sent her a message and I said, so what do you think? And she wrote back and said, oh, well, what about this or this? I was like, oh, okay, cool. So now I have some people I can call. And we'll see where that takes me. Because it's time. It reminded me this weekend, just from spending the time teaching, how much I love teaching, how much I love teaching martial arts, and that I'm good at it. So it's time to make that more of a priority. What does that mean for my life? I don't know. But I'll explore these places and see if I can't get something going. I have not started my own martial arts school since I was 22. Unless you count Whistlekick as a school. And then I haven't started my own martial arts school since 2012. 2013. It was 2013. I really started working on it that way. Jenny says, my back was sore on Saturday morning. Did some yoga on Sunday morning and felt great since. Awesome. She says, I did yoga on Saturday morning too, but it seemed I needed 2 doses to feel relief. It's a lot. It's an intense weekend. It is all in. It is the sole focus of what you do for 48 hours. We train. We train in very specific ways. We don't just beat our bodies up. It's as much mentally taxing as it is, probably for many of us, maybe even more so. Well, thank you, Tommy. Tommy says, you help other schools like mine. I don't think it will be a hard transition for you. I don't think so either. Other than going from scratch is a whole different experience. But I'm not at the same time because I know what I want to do. And I know how to do this for other people. So I just got to find a space. I got to work out space and economics. Once I have those 2 things, I can figure out when to start. It's May. Wow. It's May 1st. A third of the year is gone. Isn't that crazy? I don't know when we'll start. We'll figure it out. Oh, well. Once I had the insurance in place, I could probably launch in 2 weeks, if that. Anything else to say about today? Oh, it's Monday, Martial Arts Radio Day. I did not get the right mug. Anybody see my mug over the weekend? Like a boss. That's the mug I was drinking out of. Good times. All right, so today's episode is one of the longest ones we've done. This is not Patrick McCarthy length, but it might be longer than the original Tony Blauer episode, which we split into 2 parts. The only time we've ever done that. Today's episode is with Dan Anderson, Super Dan, if you go back to his competitive name. And this is the second time we've done that. The first time we had some technical issues, and he was gracious enough to return. And it was a different episode. Not in a bad way or a good way, just we went in some slightly different directions, which is fun. And now that this is... Did you hear beeping? I may have just heard one of the battery backups kick on, but all the lights are on and everything. So I'll just keep going. I am going to share out the original version of this episode with the technical stuff on Patreon. I don't know when that'll happen. Probably this week. We'll see. And those of you who are in Patreon will get the first version. Just know that it's rough. And that's why we chose not to use it. So you'll probably be skipping through some parts. And that's that. However, this episode is wonderful if you enjoy history of martial arts or listening to someone talk about how they grew as a human being. It is undoubtedly those 2 elements in very, very strong fashion. Dan Anderson is now in his 70s. Yes. Still teaching, still doing his thing. I got to meet him at Free Training Day Pacific Northwest last year. Great guy, and tells wonderful, wonderful stories. And he knew everybody. There's a great Bill Wallace story in this episode. But it's also rather honest about who he was and why martial arts served the purpose it did for him. especially as a youth. And so it was pretty great to hear that. And I think you'll all enjoy it. It's available in audio and video. Jenny says, today is our 6th wedding anniversary, the iron anniversary. Well, congratulations to you and Matt. I hope you celebrate. Tommy says, this weekend, old dogs do learn new tricks. Well, I'm surprised I was able to come up with any new tricks for you, but I'm glad you learned something. So for those of you who, I guess I'll just start talking about All In Weekend. I don't need to share the graphic that Frank put up that says, tell us about All In Weekend. For those of you who did not attend but will want to attend next year, here's what we do. We guarantee that if you sign up, you get first crack at the next year. So there's a 2-week period that will start later today where this year's attendees will get to sign up for next year at the lowest price. They get access to it at a price that you do not get to access it at. Why? Because one of my business philosophies is you reward the behavior that you want people to take. I want people to keep coming back year after year because it allows us to build on the event. So we give them a better price. After that 2-week period, we will open it up to everyone else and we'll start promoting. Last year we had 28 slots, or for this year, 2023, we had 28 slots. Andrew and I are in discussion. There is an opportunity for us to add a few people to that. I don't know exactly when, how, if we're going to do that. We have further discussion to have, but when we open, we will have at least some clarity on that. So just be ready. Just be ready. I know there will be a competition, as there was this year, to be the first registrant. So I am interested to see how that goes. We'll see who registers number 1. I know who number 1 was for this year. You don't get anything for being number 1 other than bragging rights. So what else can I tell you? I think I can tell you a bit more about the concept and why it is what it is. I wanted to create an event where people could simply focus on their training. And that's why you don't sleep off site. You sleep on site. It's why we take care of all your meals. You don't have to worry about bringing food or what to eat or when to eat. We tell you those things. If you needed or wanted snacks, it's not like we're going to stop you. We have a schedule. We don't tell you what it is. Because what happens if we tell you, here's the whole schedule, you think about later. We want you to think about now. And so you get to go all in on whatever you're doing. And thankfully, I have a wonderful partner in this event with Andrew, in that we are in constant communication during the weekend. One of us is presenting something, the other one is pretty much right there. If there are questions, it's like, what about this? I'm observing this. And it's not planned down to the detail. It's planned at a more macro level. Here are the things that we want to do. Here are the things we want to accomplish. But because we both have a lot of experience, we're able to change things on the fly. Oh, what about this? I think this will work. Let's give this a try. And we also adjust it based on how the weekend is going. If people are more tired or less tired, we do things a little bit differently. Maybe we end this session a little early. Maybe we start that session a little bit later, whatever. Because we want to keep people going. We want to make sure that everyone gets overwhelming value out of the weekend. And when we look at the number of people who signed up from last year, we did. And I'm sure we'll have even a higher percentage for this year because we once again crushed it. It was great. Jenny says, I'm going for number 1 this year. You may have some competition. We could do something different for number 1. I don't know. That could be fun. And then make it at like midnight, make everybody stay up. I don't think we'll do that part, but so. Jenny says, not having a schedule is one of my anxiety triggers. It only bothered me until the first session. I enjoyed not knowing the details after that. Huge progress for me. One of the ways I changed for the better this weekend. So, Brian is chiming in with a inside joke that I'm not going to put on screen because it will be lost to most of you. That's okay. So why do I bring up this notion of all in, this focus on what you're doing? Because it's how you make progress at anything. Another word you could use is immersion. Over the weekend, we talked about the example of learning another language. And when you immerse yourself in that language in a foreign country, you progress far more rapidly than if you take a class or use an app, because it's all around you. There's detail, there's nuance. And we do some things that I'm not going to share. Some of them are conscious, some of them are accidental, but we allow them, that bring detail and nuance, context to the things that we do, that round it out. And a lot of those have to do with who shows up. But if you want to get better at everything, everything, you have to commit to it. If you want to be a better gardener, you have more gardens. You build more garden beds, plots, pots, whatever. You spend more time gardening. You will get better. If you want to get better at cooking, you cook a lot. You cook all your meals. You cook extra meals. You cook meals for other people. You volunteer in a soup kitchen. You cook. If you want to get better at martial arts, you do a lot of martial arts. You immerse yourself fully in martial arts. You read books about martial arts. You listen to podcasts about martial arts. You talk to people about martial arts. You train martial arts. You go to classes. You go to competitions. You go to seminars. Doesn't matter what it is. If you want to get better at it, you do it a lot. A lot of people spend a lot of time trying to come up with these plans. Well, I'm going to do this and then this and then this. And I used to see it all the time with resistance training, weightlifting. People would come up with these very detailed training programs and these cycles and these movements that nobody did, and they'd come up with these timings, and they'd look at all this science in between these rest periods, and then they'd never work out. That doesn't help. Yeah, and those same people would be the ones that would criticize other people in the way they worked out. It's like, well, they're stronger than you, so shut up. And we see the same thing with martial arts today. I'm going to take the striking from Muay Thai and pair that with BJJ, and I'm going to do this and that, and I'm going to train with this from this person, and I like the way that this person does that. But you're not even training. It's purely theoretical. The person that no one has heard of down the street that trains some art that you don't have any respect for, all of their students are better than you sitting on the couch. You have to do something. Interesting, Tommy. Tommy says, I agree. Quote, be about doing, my aunts would say. Be about doing. Take action. Be a person of action. People often ask me, maybe not often, people sometimes ask me, you've got all these things that you've got going on. Somebody just over the weekend said, I enjoy seeing all of your productivity because I'm constantly doing stuff. The doing stuff leads to getting better at stuff. There are plenty of things I'm really good at, and I'm proud of that. But I got good at them because I wasn't afraid to start doing them. I am one of the first people that shows up at an event that it's not a whistle kick event, volunteers to help, gets out on the floor, trains with people who are less experienced than me, lower ranked than me. I don't care. I want to learn. I don't know everything. I'm just happy to learn. I'm happy to get better at something. Sometimes I get better at things by learning how not to do them. Fine. So here is my challenge to you. And we've talked about this before. What is it you want to get better at? Do it. Stop worrying so much about how to start and just start. There were some examples over the weekend where, I'm sure there were a lot of examples over the weekend where people had a difficult time starting something from scratch. But you give them a starting point and they can do it. Well, the starting point is wherever you are. Let's say I wanted to learn how to be a carpenter. That's the first random thing that came to mind. I wanted to be a carpenter. Well, there's a couple ways I could start. I can watch videos on YouTube. I can read books. Probably go find a class somewhere. I can get some lumber and start building things. Or I can call one of the probably dozen friends who work in construction and say, can I come apprentice? Can I come bang nails on the weekend? Right? There's 5 ways I can do it. Which one's best? I don't know, and I don't care. Because any of them are further along than I am now. What if I start looking at stuff on YouTube and find that it's too advanced for me? Well, I learned that it was too advanced for me. Now I have a better idea of what I want to do and how to start. But there are a lot of people who would look at that problem and say, okay, I have to watch a bunch of YouTube videos. I have to read a bunch of books. I have to look at the opinions of many other people. I have to ask all of my friends who work in construction, get all of their opinions and put them all together and try and come up with a consensus. There's no consensus. You just got to start. You just got to do it. Frank says, well done is better than well said. Yeah. Just do something. When we hold back like that, when we decide, hey, let me spend all this time figuring out what I should do, most of the time, not all, there are exceptions, most of the time, I would say that is because people are afraid of making the wrong choice or afraid of putting in real effort and not being successful. Guess what? You're not going to be successful when you start something. Once in a while, I'll try something new and I have this fantasy in the back of my head. Maybe I'll be super great at this, like some lost hidden talent, long hidden talent. Nope. Never. Could still happen. Probably not. But I keep going, keep trying, keep enjoying. See, if you enjoy the process of learning, you can learn anything because the enjoyment part of it will come even when the educational part gets really difficult. You got to have a why. So, I hope you have a great day. I hope you check out that episode with Dan Anderson. It is a great one. It might take you couple sessions to get through it, 2 hours, but it's absolutely worth it. Such a wonderful episode. I really appreciate him being so gracious. The first time I talked to him was about 2 hours as well. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you consider supporting us, whether that be through something at whistlekick.com, maybe checking out the family page, joining the Patreon, or any of the other ways. I appreciate you being here, if nothing else. You are part of my routine and my family, and I am thankful for you. And I will see you tomorrow, I hope. Take care, everybody. Be well. Peace.